2 frameworks. 1 goal, understanding exactly how a cyber attack unfolds, step by step. By the end of this video, you'll know the cyber kill chain cold. You'll understand exactly why MITRE built ATT&CK to patch its biggest weakness. And you'll know how to use both together, the same way real security teams do, every single day. This is Module 1 of our Cybersecurity Master Course, and everything for the next 33 modules builds on what you're about to learn. So let's get into it. Let's start with the cyber kill chain. Back in 2011, defense contractor Lockheed Martin took a military concept, targeting an enemy through a series of stages, and adapted it for cyber attacks. That's where the name comes from. Here's the big idea, and if you remember nothing else from this section, remember this. An attack is a chain of dependent steps. Each stage relies on the one before it. And that means if you, as a defender, break just one link in that chain, the entire attack collapses. You don't need to catch an attacker at every single stage. You only need to catch them at one. The kill chain has 7 stages, and I want you to picture a heist movie as I walk through them. It makes the whole sequence much easier to remember. Stage 1 is Reconnaissance. This is the research phase. The attacker studies the target, who works there, what technology they run, which services are exposed to the internet. In heist terms, this is casing the building and learning the guard's shifts. Stage 2 is Weaponization. Now the attacker takes an exploit and pairs it with a malicious payload built off-site, away from the target. Think of this as building the tools for the job. The drill, the fake badge, the getaway car. Stage 3 is Delivery. This is simply how the weaponized package reaches the target. Maybe an email attachment, a malicious link, an infected USB drive. In our heist analogy, this is driving the tools to the building. Stage 4 is Exploitation. This is the moment the exploit actually fires. The vulnerability gets triggered for real. It's the equivalent of picking the lock or disabling the alarm. Everything before this stage was preparation. This is the first moment the attacker actually breaks in. Stage 5 is Installation. The attacker installs a persistent backdoor, something that gives them access again later, even if the original entry point gets closed. Picture it as propping the backdoor open for next time. Stage 6 is Command and Control. You'll often hear security professionals shorten this to just C2. This is where the now compromised system phones home to the attacker, giving them remote control. In the heist world, this is the earpiece connecting the crew inside the building to the driver waiting outside. And finally, Stage 7, Actions on Objectives. This is it, the attacker's actual goal, whatever they came for. Stealing data, deploying ransomware, sabotaging a system. In heist terms, opening the vault and taking the cash. Now, 7 stages is a lot to hold in your head, so here's a memory trick. Take the first letter of each stage: Reconnaissance, Weaponization, Delivery, Exploitation, Installation, Command and Control, Actions on Objectives, and you get this sentence: rarely would detectives ever ignore criminal activity. Say that a few times. It sounds a little silly, but that's exactly why it sticks. Before we move to the second framework, it's worth knowing where the kill chain struggles, because that's exactly the gap the next framework was built to fill. First, it's strictly linear. Real attacks don't always move step by step in order. They loop back, skip stages, or run several at once. Stolen valid credentials, for example, can let an attacker jump straight to stage 4 and skip the first 3 entirely. Second, it was built in 2011 around malware crossing a perimeter. That doesn't map cleanly onto a lot of modern attacks: cloud misconfigurations, supply chain compromises, or attacks that use no malware at all. And third, this is the big one. It goes almost silent on everything that happens after the initial break-in. 3 stages: Installation, Command and Control, Actions on Objectives, stand in for what is usually the majority of an attacker's actual time inside a network. That gap is exactly why MITRE built ATT&CK. So let's talk about MITRE ATT&CK. MITRE Corporation, a U.S. nonprofit, released it publicly in 2015. It stands for Adversarial Tactics, Techniques, and Common Knowledge. Here's the key difference from the kill chain. The kill chain is a theoretical model. ATT&CK is empirical. It's built directly from real intrusions, documented in actual threat intelligence reports and incident response case files. And unlike the kill chain, which has been frozen since 2011, ATT&CK keeps growing. As of this recording, it's on version 18, cataloging over 200 techniques and more than 450 subtechniques. ATT&CK organizes everything into 4 levels, and I want you to really lock this in, because you'll hear these terms constantly. Level 1 is tactic. This is the why, the adversary's goal in that moment. Things like, I need to get in, or I need to move sideways through the network. Level 2 is technique. This is the how, a specific method for achieving that tactic. Every technique gets an ID, something like T1566, which is the ID for phishing. Level 3 is subtechnique. This is the how, but more precise. T1566.001, for example, is spearphishing attachment specifically one particular flavor of phishing. And level 4 is procedure. This is the how in the real world, the exact, documented way one specific, named threat group actually carried it out. Now, take the first letter of the first 3 of those. Tactic, technique, procedure. TDPs. You are going to hear that term constantly for the rest of this course, so get comfortable with it now. Tactics, techniques, and procedures. ATT&CK organizes its techniques under 14 top-level tactics in what it calls the enterprise matrix. And here's something genuinely useful. You can map these back onto the kill chain stages you just learned, which makes them much easier to remember. Kill chain's reconnaissance and weaponization roughly line up with 2 ATT&CK tactics: reconnaissance and resource development. Kill chain's delivery and exploitation line up with initial access and execution. Now here's where it gets interesting. Remember how I said the kill chain goes almost silent after the initial break-in? That compressed middle, everything the kill chain squeezes into practically nothing, ATT&CK breaks out into 7 full tactics: persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, and collection. 7 tactics, where the kill chain effectively gave you 0 detail. Kill chain's command and control maps directly onto ATT&CK's command and control tactic. That one's a clean, 1-to-1 match. And finally, kill chain's actions on objectives splits into 2 ATT&CK tactics: exfiltration and impact. So why does any of this matter in the real world? Here are 4 concrete ways security teams use ATT&CK every single day. Threat intel teams tag their reports with technique IDs, so any analyst, anywhere in the world, reads the exact same meaning. No ambiguity. Detection engineers use a free tool called the ATT&CK Navigator to map out which techniques they can actually catch, and more importantly, where their gaps are. Red and purple teams pick specific techniques to emulate during exercises. And if that sounds interesting, stick around, because that's exactly what Module 31 covers in depth. And incident responders write technique IDs directly into their after-action reports, so incidents become comparable across the entire industry, not just within one company. Let's put these 2 frameworks side by side, because I think this is where it all clicks into place. The kill chain was built by Lockheed Martin in 2011. ATT&CK was built by MITRE in 2015. The kill chain is linear, 7 fixed stages in order. ATT&CK is a matrix, 14 tactics, with no fixed order at all. The kill chain stays high level, 7 total steps, full stop. ATT&CK is granular, over 200 techniques, 450 plus subtechniques. The kill chain is a theoretical model. ATT&CK is grounded in real, observed attacker behavior. The kill chain has been frozen since 2011. ATT&CK is a living document, updated roughly twice a year. So what's each one actually best for? The kill chain is best for telling an incident story to any audience, technical or not. ATT&CK is best for building detections, sharing threat intel, and planning red and purple team exercises. And each one has a weak point. The kill chain doesn't reflect real-world looping and skipping, and it's thin after the initial compromise, you already know that one. ATT&CK has a steep learning curve, and it doesn't come with a built-in narrative. Here's the takeaway, and honestly, this might be the single most important sentence in this entire video. These two frameworks are not rivals. They're a pair. The standard move in the real world is to use the kill chain to tell an incident story to a non-technical audience, your executives, your board, a client, and then hang the specific ATT&CK technique IDs underneath that story for the technical team who actually has to go build the detection. Let's lock all of this in with a quick recap. For things I want you to walk away from this video holding on to. 1. The heist story. Recon, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, actions on objectives. If you can retell that heist analogy out loud, from memory, you know the kill chain. 2. The mnemonic. Rarely would detectives ever ignore criminal activity. 3. The TTP ladder. Why, then how exactly, then how this specific group actually did it. Tactic, technique, subtechnique, procedure. And 4. The one-liner that ties this whole video together. The kill chain is the plot. ATT&CK is the encyclopedia. Time for a quick self-check. 5 questions. I'll ask, you try to answer in your head, and then I'll give you the answer. This retrieval effort, actually trying to recall it yourself before I tell you, is what makes this stuff actually stick. So don't skip ahead, really try each one. Question 1. I'm going to name the 7 kill chain stages out of order, and I want you to mentally sort them. Ready? Installation. Reconnaissance. Actions on objectives. Delivery. Exploitation. Weaponization. Command and control. Got your order? Here's the answer. Reconnaissance, weaponization, delivery, exploitation, installation, command and control, actions on objectives. Question 2. Which is more specific, a technique or a subtechnique? The answer is subtechnique. Question 3. True or false? ATT&CK assumes attackers move through its tactics in a fixed sequence. False. It's a matrix. Attackers can loop, skip, or run tactics in parallel. Question 4. What does TTP stand for? Tactics, techniques, and procedures. And question 5. Name one thing ATT&CK captures in detail that the kill chain compresses into almost nothing. Anything post-compromise. Persistence, privilege escalation, defense evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, or collection. Any one of those counts. However you did, that struggle to recall is exactly the point. You'll retain this far better than if I just handed you the answers straight away. Alright, here's your actual hands-on assignment for Module 1. You're going to pick a well-documented public breach, something with a solid public postmortem, like a vendor write-up, a CISA advisory, or the company's own disclosure, and you're going to map it to both frameworks. Then you'll publish it as the very first entry in your portfolio. Let me walk you through how this mapping typically looks, using a generic phishing to ransomware pattern. I want to be clear, this isn't a real named breach, it's just a pattern to show you the shape of the exercise. You'll pick your own real case. So, a phishing email gets sent. That's the delivery stage in the kill chain. In ATT&CK terms, that's initial access, using the phishing technique ID T1566. The victim opens it, a malicious macro runs. That's exploitation in the kill chain. In ATT&CK, that's execution, specifically user execution, T1204. A backdoor persists on the system. That's installation. In ATT&CK, that's persistence, using boot or logon auto-start execution, T1547. Now here's the interesting part. Credentials get stolen, and the attacker moves to other hosts on the network. In the kill chain, that's just the compressed middle, barely mentioned. But in ATT&CK, that single moment splits into 2 full tactics: credential access, using OS credential dumping, T1003, and lateral movement, using remote services, T1021. And finally, data leaves the network. That's actions on objectives in the kill chain. In ATT&CK, that's exfiltration, specifically exfiltration over C2 channel, T1041. Notice what just happened there. One single kill chain row, that compressed middle, split into two separate ATT and CK tactics with two specific techniques. That's the entire point of layering these two frameworks together. The kill chain gives you the story. ATT and CK gives you the granular, technical detail underneath it. Here's exactly how to do your own write-up. Step 1. Pick a breach with a solid public postmortem. Step 2. Read it once, just for the plot, and slot what happened into the 7 kill chain stages. Step 3. Read it a second time, but now for technique-level detail. How did they get in? How did they move around? How did the data leave? And tag each moment with its likely ATT and CK tactic, and technique ID if the report names one. And Step 4. Publish both side by side. That's genuinely the shape of a real incident report, and it's a strong first entry for your portfolio. And that's Module 1 in the books. You now know the kill chain cold, you understand why ATT and CK exists and how it fills in the kill chain's biggest blind spot, and you've got a real assignment to put it into practice. Do the exercise, seriously, don't skip it. Mapping a real breach yourself is what turns, "I watched a video about this," into, "I actually understand this." One last thing before you go, frameworks evolve. Technique IDs, version numbers, tactic counts, all of it gets updated over time. If you're ever citing any of this in professional work, take 30 seconds and double-check it against attack.mitre.org first. If this helped, subscribe, because Module 2 is coming soon, and we've got 33 more of these to get through together. I'll see you there.